Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Honest Game Perspectives, the show where we play games, talk about what's good, talk about what's bad, and see if it's worth your money, or more importantly, worth your time. And today, we have a bonus episode this week. A little bit of a
Why is this
different
video so
schedule than our
pixelated?
typical Saturdays and Mondays. We have a bonus video. And that's because with Rockstar's news that Grand Theft Auto 6 was getting delayed, I wanted to make that video for Monday, and this was the original Monday video that we are now making in the middle of the week. But before we dive into today's topic, I want to make something a little clear for you guys if it hasn't been apparent up until now.
Okay.
And that's that I really try to stay away from making negative content about games. I play my video games, I make reviews, I talk about my opinions, but I try to stay away from publishing any kind of video that is 100% negative about a topic. I think there are videos I've made where I talk about unfortunate things with games, but I always try to find silver linings or at least some sort of positive thing when I'm talking about a game. And I almost never, probably can't think of any, but I never make any previews of game videos where I'm talking negatively about the overall aspect. It's usually with a hint of wishful thinking or hope that they can change something that maybe they've showed to the public.
Okay.
All that to say that we're not here to really bash Borderlands 4, but I'm just asking a genuine question. Who has asked and who wants Borderlands 4? Now let's start with the
What do you
big
mean?
picture here. The Borderlands franchise used to be a powerhouse. I remember when I was younger that every time a Borderlands game would come out, I was really excited to play it. But things have been a little shaky, to say the least, over the last couple of years. Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which was a standalone, separate RPG-style game, had, to put it politely, a lukewarm reception. Not a total failure, but far from the smash hits or what anything with the name Borderlands.
Let's be honest, that game
3,
was
4,
just a
5
testing
would
ground.
probably have been successful on it. And we can't mention Borderlands failures without mentioning the live-action movie that was beyond a flop. I mean, it was the second worst grossing movie in the year that it was released. Now, that doesn't always tell the full story because some franchises spent a lot of money. All you need to know is, did you watch it? I didn't watch it. So that kind of tells you how well it did. Meanwhile, other franchises
full
are
production
thriving with
game,
the
though.
recent success of the Minecraft movie, and a couple years ago with the success of the Mario movie. I think it's popular and it's easy to say that video game adaptations into movies can be made. However, I'm just trying to set the groundwork that Borderlands hasn't really been swinging well over the last couple of years, especially with their most recent release. Now let's talk about the recent showcase that Borderlands did.
Who's the game made
You got a
for?
glimpse of gameplay, and honestly,
What
it
is-
looked
what is-
fine. Nothing broken, nothing unwatchable, but also nothing exciting. I really didn't see much new, nothing that screamed out, this is why this game needs to exist, this is our new idea. Like, nothing seemed to be new in the game. It seemed like it was just another Borderlands. Even more curious about
some
it
people
is
would
that it
disagree
seems
with
like
that, I'm
Gearbox
pretty
is leaning into the hybrid multiplayer format, less solo narrative adventure, and more co-op grind. And that's a big departure from the series' roots.
How?
Borderlands has always been
What are you on
a
about?
friendly game, but the backbone was completing the single-player experiences with hilarious writing, stylized visuals, and a mountain of loot. And that seems like they're kind of going away from that. Now, when I was a kid, I really enjoyed everything about
they?
the earlier Borderlands. I remember playing Borderlands 1.
They never
in
mentioned that
preparation
this
of
game is
Borderlands 2 back
exclusively
in the
co-op.
day, and I remember Borderlands 2 was a game I actually went to a midnight
Or like
release
heavily
for.
focused
For
on
those
it.
of you who are maybe a little bit younger, you couldn't always just buy games online. You had to actually go to the store and talk to people. That's kind of gross. I spend most of my time talking to my microphone. But nevertheless, that was how you got games. And so I was always excited to play the Borderlands. But now, my taste has changed. The gun, shoot bad guy, go quest to quest loop, it just really doesn't seem like it's a game that's going to be successful. But neither does the co-op multiplayer. It seems like they're taking the worst of two outdated qualities and combining them to make one game. The whole showcase really just had me begging the question which inspired this video, which is, who is this game for? It's not for the kids, right? Because they're off playing Roblox and Fortnite and whatever the trend is blowing up on TikTok this week. I understand that. So it's not for them. It's not for the young gamers because they've moved past this formula. They're playing the really highly competitive ranked games
That's wrong.
like Valorant and CS:GO, Rainbow
Hell no.
Six
What are
Siege.
you on
They're
about?
playing all those games that are really high competitive level because
I mean,
that's
I
just
could
what
relate
they're
this game
doing.
to Destiny.
So it leads me
Destiny's
to
still
think that it's
popular to
for
this
the
damn
people who
day.
originally played this game, which is me. I'm that demographic. But I have zero interest in this game. I've seen the failures that have been made over the last couple of years.
Why
And
does that
simply
have to
creating new
dictate
dialogue and
what's
different
gonna happen
scenery is
here?
not going to
What?
make me want to come back to the same old formula and series with the addition of being able to play with my friends. When I play a game like Borderlands, I don't think I'd want to play with my friends. I'd want to play the story and enjoy it. And here's the part that really stings. And this is unfortunately the mature part that I cannot stop thinking about.
What?
Gearbox Software, which is the studio that develops Borderlands, has so many other IPs they could be invested in. Homeworld 3, Risk of Rain. Those are games that are out that have dedicated communities that there's a potential there
You have no idea how tiny
improvement and
those
people
are.
who want to play those
Borderlands
games and
is way
see
bigger.
improvement.
Get
And
out of here,
Borderlands
bro.
4, I don't want it to flop, but I'm almost certain it will. And for the people who have made this game, the developers who have worked hard on this game, no doubt have skill, no doubt have potential, they're going to lose their jobs. The teams are going to get cut. The overall response of how this game does will affect people's real life. And I think it's just a bad opportunity to waste development talent that could be working on something fresh or something that already has a meaningful, determined community behind it. They're stuck chasing ghosts of past success, which is what we see far too many times in today's world. I really hope we try to shift this towards the direction of original and new IPs are not something that gamers don't want. What we don't want are outdated, worn down games that we played when we were kids. The nostalgic feeling is not going to get us to spend $70 and feel like it was a good investment. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed your time while you were here. Let's keep the conversation going down in the comments. Did you watch the showcase?
I see his
Was there anything
points
different in
for
this
the most
game
part.
that maybe...
However, he's extremely and utterly biased.
He's really off base, if I have to be honest. I know what he's trying to say as well. Like, everyone has said that Borderlands 2 was like a lightning in a bottle. Like, they managed to capture lightning in a bottle, which is kind of true because they managed to make a very successful game out of the blue. In comparison to 1 and 2, well, the second game was a massive hit. To this day, people are still playing it. And to write it off, to write off that Borderlands 4 is gonna be a flop because it can't be as good as 2 or whatever. Nah, man, it's like...
It's fine, it's funny, man. I understood all these points, like, I didn't think too much about it. However, the fact that most of these points are said from a very extremely utterly biased perspective, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't feel really convinced with your arguments when they're this fucking biased. You barely gave any solid examples or arguments that I could just compare it to and be like, you know, yeah, maybe, okay, yeah, no. He just said, like, yeah, who's this for? I don't know who's this for. It's not for me anyway. That's it. That's all you're saying, basically.
Yeah, like, it's a really, like... Also, anyone can play any Borderlands game, to be honest. It's like you don't need. The only thing I think is what they could do is maybe change the number, rather than calling it Borderlands 4, call it like, I don't know, Borderlands World or something, or Premier. Like, put a name.
I'm fine with the number system.
No. Here's the reason why. Just like Monster Hunter, you don't want to keep adding numbers. You want to keep it like new and fresh, so that newer players can come into the game without having to feel like they need to play the previous games.
The thing is, what this unlike Monster Hunter doesn't do a continuous story. This does.
Yeah, but like, if they wanna have more players, newer players joining in, then they have to kind of do something like that.
Well, that's probably why they did it on a game like Tina anyway. There's no numbers. There's no story connection. Anyone can jump in at any time. However, if you jump into Borderlands 4, yeah, you will feel like you're missing out on plot context. Even if they change the title, they're gonna be like, so we did this in the previous games, there's Lilith and these other guys. Who the fuck? What am I missing out on here? These are very continuous plot games, though.
I know, but again, like you still want to think about how to get new players in, regardless. So that's my only gripe. And
Well, if they want to get them in, just show them awesome trailers and gameplay footages and moments, and the people will jump right fucking in. It's
yeah.
that simple.
Also
You
another
don't,
yeah.
you don't need to put the name difference there, really. You don't.
I think they could do better with the names personally. Either way. Also, I wanted to mention that this guy did not address the fact that they've been listening to the community and actually making changes to the game. So for one thing, we saw the vote counters change in appearance, color wise, and like how they overall look. They've improved the way those guys look.
Let's be fair. That only changed anyway because that got massively negative press.
Yeah, but they could have just stuck with it because Randy and his team normally are really stubborn and refuse to listen to community feedback. Secondly, yeah, dedicated loot jobs. What else? Pearlescence, those are coming back, like some other stuff as well. Overall, they are listening to communities nowadays. So they're definitely trying to be more what's the word? Customer, orientated, I guess.
I mean, the drops, the pearls, and other stuff. Those things are simple changes they can make. As for the character appearances, first of all, they ignored that feedback. They ignored it. I saw how they actually ignored them. If anything, they kind of backlashed back at the community about their decision on that.
That was Randy's doing anyway.
Yeah, so that just showed anyway that they actually did not plan to change that. However, people just kept making negative after negative video, stating like, yeah, these characters kind of suck.
Yeah, but they changed it regardless. They actually did listen in the end.
Yeah, they had to be pressured into that one. That wasn't willful making.
Well, regardless, I'm happy either way. Like whether it was forced or not, it was the right step forward. That's one thing.
I guess, but they should have not been forced into it. They should have just done it willingly. It's neither a plus on their side or otherwise. That's just.
Well, would you say it's a negative that they changed it then?
For me, it's a mid outcome because we had to force them to do it rather than just telling them like, "Hey, we didn't like this. Please change it." And instead, they had to backlash at us for it. So I was like,
I still see it as a positive. Like they could have easily just kept it.
It's a positive for us, not for them. They have to be forced into it.
Well, no, because if they listen once, then maybe they'll be willing to listen again.
Who knows, man? Massive backlash took the role in that one. As for the balls and dedicated drops, yeah, I'm willing to believe in that aspect. They probably listened normally. They did actually just fight back.
Yeah, because that was a Borderlands 3 thing where people complained heavily about dedicated drops. And raids as well. Raids are coming back.
That third game has just has such a disastrous stuff anyway. They destroyed the story, they destroyed the end game, they destroyed a lot of things in there. And then the people have to be like, hey, so anyway, why is there so much legendaries here? I have nothing to do here.
Mm.
I was like, oh, where's the bosses? Yeah, we don't have bosses. You know what? Let's DLC add in some raids, takedowns. You guys happy now?
Yeah, barely. It's like takedowns were great. I will admit that, but it were only two, man. There was only two, and that was it.
Only one decent takedown. The other one's kind of trash. To be fucking honest.
The Iridium one or the?
Yeah, the other one was kind of trash.
Fucking awful. That one was awful. And I hated that one so much. It fucking made me lose my mind. Yeah. Anyway, well, what was I gonna say? Yeah, let me just quickly read this one comment because it seems to be mostly upvoted. Game is for people who want more Borderlands. Borderlands is a unique in the ARPG setting. Absolutely, I agree with that statement. And yeah, like that question in itself, though, where you're like, who is this game made for? Who do you think? Who do you think? Like that question in itself is so rhetorical. People like to grind for weapons, fight bosses, use cool guns, and meet the character. Yeah, that like Destiny. If any, Destiny copied that formula, tried to be the exact same thing. and it's still popular to this day. Borderlands does this in a way that no other game in the genre does. Borderlands has a certain style and charm to it that people enjoy, and judging by the showcase and everything released since then, it looks like they're attempting to give fans what they want: dedicated jobs, new movement tech, the return of varied class mods, wacky and varied player characters, and a bajillion guns. Classic. Could it flop? Yeah, it could. Will it? I doubt it. The community and the devs behind these games is passionate, damn near cult level status. Borderlands 3 was a disaster at launch, and now the community argues back and forth whether it was better than Borderlands 2. It wasn't. Let's be all honest. It wasn't in many aspects. The only thing that Borderlands 3 did better was the movement system. That was it. Like, the gameplay was just great. Everything else, poopy. Very poopy. I, for one, am excited for Borderlands 4, and the game looks good. Yeah, initially, when the first trailer came out for Borderlands 4, I had my doubts. Not gonna lie, I wasn't very excited. I was very mixed on that regard. But now, seeing some gameplay and seeing some actual talk and improvements about the game, I'm definitely a lot more keen on playing it.
That mixed feeling for me is still there until I actually get to see how the plot progresses onwards.
Yeah.
Because I never doubted the gameplay. I was not gonna have mixed feelings about the gameplay itself.
Yeah. Why?
I'm walking into this thinking I'm gonna be playing more Borderlands 3 just with adjustments.
For sure.
I did not think of that they'll absolutely omit the fucking minimap, but whatever, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had to say.